Good afternoon once again, everyone, and welcome to the English Language Information Session on the recently launched Call for Proposals under the Indo-Pacific Scholarships and Fellowships for Canadians program. My name is Julius Egbeyemi. I am the Deputy Director of the team responsible for this program at Global Affairs Canada. I am accompanied today by Madison Hitchcock, our team's senior analyst. We also have our director, Wim Podolsky, with us today. Today's information session will cover the objectives of the call, IPFC's program detail, the mandatory documents for your project proposal, and the steps we will take to assess it. We will then go through the responses to questions that were submitted ahead of this session. We will not be answering live questions, but you're welcome to submit additional questions after this session. We will respond to them through the call page of Global Affairs Canada's website in the coming days. We will be taking and responding to questions until July 30th. This session will be recorded, and it will also be made available to watch on the call page.
The IPSFC call for proposals launched on June 10th and will be open for submission until August 6th at noon Eastern Daylight Time. Organizations must submit their proposals through the Partners at International portal. The call page provides detailed instructions on how to register and submit your proposal package. We recommend that you ensure your registration and access to the portal early to avoid any delays. Additionally, we recommend that you submit your proposal in advance of the due date to avoid any technical problems. We will not be accepting any late submissions. You may request the IPSFC application package, which includes the application and budget forms, until July 30th. If you have any technical questions regarding the Partners at International portal, please reach out to our email, IPSFC-BERIPC@international.gc.ca for support.
The IPSFC is one of the 5 programs under the Indo-Pacific Engagement Initiative. Together, the 5 programs under the IPEI will increase Canada's footprint in the Indo-Pacific region and develop Indo-Pacific knowledge in the non-governmental, academic, and public sectors. In particular, the IPSFC will enhance the study and research capacity of Canadians on topics related to Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy, increase connectivity between Canadian and Indo-Pacific institutions dedicated to research and education, and support new research streams and academic pursuits in Canada and in the Indo-Pacific region. As I mentioned, study and research must be aligned to the Indo-Pacific strategy. The call page lists a number of possible topics, such as regional diplomacy, technological innovation, and natural resource management, and so on and so forth. This list is non-exhaustive, and we encourage expansive thinking on possible topics of interest, but it is up to the applicant to describe the alignment of this project topic to the IPS.
To be eligible as a recipient organization for this program, you must be either a Canadian post-secondary academic institution, a consortium of Canadian universities, or a Canadian research organization. You must be able to provide a Canadian Revenue Agency business number to prove your organization's status in Canada. Please note that each organization can submit a maximum of 1 proposal. Applicants are required to coordinate across faculties or units to develop a proposal if you choose to provide a centralized proposal for your organization. Equally, organizations may opt to have one faculty submit a proposal. This is up to the applicant in your program design. Global Affairs Canada will evaluate the first proposal submitted for each organization. To support this coordination, when individuals in the same organization have been requesting a proposal package, we have been connecting those contacts. We'll now go over the mandatory project parameters, which are outlined on the Call for Proposals webpage. Your proposed project start date is after November 1st, 2025, and the project will end on or before March 31st, 2028. The project funding request does not exceed $520,000. The proposed project will deliver scholarships and/or fellowships to Canadian graduate students, academics, and researchers. We'll now go through a couple definitions to clarify that. Canadian is defined as a holder of Canadian citizenship or a permanent resident. Canadian applies to all awardees regardless of the stream. Graduate level is a student at the master's, doctoral, or postdoctoral level. Researchers are defined as including postdoctoral, academic, or professional researchers associated with a research institute or think tank. And academics are as tenured or non-tenured. Additionally, you must provide at least one letter of support from an Indo-Pacific host institution. The parameters of the letters of support are outlined on the call page. This is an outbound program, and scholars and fellows must travel to the Indo-Pacific as defined by the Indo-Pacific strategy. We will go over this in more detail in a few slides. The administrative expenditures in your project budget do not exceed 15% of the total funding requested. And finally, all documents are complete and presented in either English or French. If you fail to adhere to any of these mandatory project parameters, your application will be rejected as incomplete.
Funding. The total IPSFC funding envelope is up to $10 million. However, each project may request up to a maximum of $520,000. The $520,000 threshold is a maximum. Applicants may also propose projects that are seeking less funding. You're required to submit a simplified budget, which will outline the scholarship and fellowship costs and administrative expenditures. In the application, we also ask you to outline how much the award for each scholarship or fellowship will be. To allow maximum flexibility to the organizations, given their specific project design, there is no maximum or minimum for the individual awards. However, the award should be reasonable in the context of the proposed project and is up to the applicant to demonstrate value for money as part of your proposal.
As Julius mentioned, for the purposes of your application, we require a simplified budget. However, once projects are approved, we will require a more detailed budget that outlines the project expenditures under the scholarships and fellowship costs, as well as the administrative expenditures. Please keep in mind the list on the screen of non-exhaustive eligible expenditures as you develop your budget. It is important to note that overhead is not eligible under the IPSFC. Administrative costs must be directly linked to project activities. Overhead, or indirect costs, are defined as costs that cannot be traced to a specific project.
On the slide is a list of eligible project locations. Note that projects may take place in one or multiple Indo-Pacific locations. This is up to the applicant to decide for their project. As this relates to the letters of support, for the purposes of your application, you only require only one letter of support, but multiple may be submitted. Please note that there are 3 locations that are included in Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy that are not eligible for projects. They are the People's Republic of China, Myanmar, and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. As it relates to China, Global Affairs Canada offers another program related to scholarships and academic knowledge exchanges between China and Canada called the Canada-China Scholars Exchange Program. Further information on this program is linked on the call page. And while China is not an eligible project location, that does not mean that research topics or study related to China is not eligible. For Myanmar and DPRK, the exclusion is related to Canada's travel advisories. Currently, the government of Canada recommends against any travel to those areas. Please continue to monitor the government of Canada's travel advisories, as the program will not fund projects in any area where they avoid all travel or non-essential travel. As situations change, projects may need to be amended to respect travel advisories. How will your application be assessed? We have published the assessment criteria, which details how we will evaluate your project proposal. We encourage you to take a look at this page as you develop your application to ensure a comprehensive and competitive proposal. This page is also linked on the call page.
We'll now go over the required documents to submit for your proposal package. The complete list is on the screen now. They include the IPSFC proposal application form, which is limited by character count per section, a letter of incorporation or proof of legal status, 2 financial statements for the most recent fiscal years. Audited statements are preferred, but if not available, statements may be signed by a member of the board of directors or a delegate. The budget template, and at least 1 letter of support. Additionally, we require 2 documents standard to calls for proposal processes at Global Affairs Canada: the Anti-Corruption Declaration and the Declaration regarding outstanding debts to His Majesty. You can download these directly off the call page. Please download them onto your desktop computer and then open them using the Adobe Acrobat Reader software. Please ensure that they are completed and signed as per their instructions. We'll now respond to questions that we've received on the IPSFC call for proposals. These responses may be found on the call webpage under additional information. We'll be continuing to update the page with responses to questions until July 30th and encourage you to submit them in advance. First section regards eligibility. The eligible organization, for example, a Canadian university, is considered the applicant. Within the application, you may identify the project lead, for example, a departmental chair. As it relates to Canadian researchers and academia, Canadian is defined as a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident status holder. Postdoctoral fellows may be considered as eligible recipients for either scholarships or fellowships, as long as they meet the residency requirements defined above and depending on the project design of the applicant. A consortium of universities is defined by the program as 2 or more Canadian universities coming together for the purposes of implementing an IPSFC project. International students or temporary residents are not eligible to be recipients of scholarships or fellowships. As Julius mentioned previously, projects may take place in one or multiple Indo-Pacific countries and economies. This is up to the applicant to develop in their proposal. As it relates to financial questions, student stipends would be an eligible cost. Eligible costs are those which are required to deliver on the proposed project within the defined parameters. The list of eligible costs on the call page is non-exhaustive. Additionally, travel costs for beneficiaries not currently residing in Canada would be an eligible cost for the same reasons. There is no cost-sharing requirement for the Indo-Pacific Scholarships and Fellowships for Canadians program that relates to in cash and in kind. And finally, some general questions. It is not expected that any scholarship or fellowship awardees be identified at this stage. However, your proposal should include a clear and feasible plan outlining how your organization intends to select awardees once the project is approved by the department. Please refer to the assessment criteria page for this call on our call page. There are no minimum or maximum stay requirements for recipients of scholarships or fellowships. This is up to the applicant to develop in their proposal. There are no requirements for academic credit recognition for study activities. Again, this is up to the applicant to develop in your proposal. The indicated project end date of March 31st, 2028 would mark the end of the project activities, with final reporting to follow and the end of the contribution agreement.
This marks the end of the information session. We thank you so much for your time this afternoon and wish all interested organizations the best of luck with your proposals. Thank you.
Thank you.